This evening, let's explore impulsiveness, centeredness, and meditation. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This evening we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Luke Skywalker learned to do on Dagobah under the guidance of Yoda, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. This evening, once again, we could explore impulsiveness, centeredness, and meditation, that you too could meditate like a Jedi. If at any point during this evening's live stream you have a question about meditation, or philosophy, or even how to chant, don't be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, if you're watching a replay, you'll want to type your question in the comment area below the video. Well, my friends, the sun has set, the day is done, and if you're feeling a trifle groggy, might I recommend knocking out 2 or 3 repetitions of geriatric step back squat thrusts before an image of a Buddha. I'm going to do that right now, and you're welcome to join me if you wish. And if not, don't worry, I will not try to manipulate you. I will not point and laugh and say unkind things much. Hardly at all. Not so that you'd notice. Oy vey! May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path, Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path, following the Buddha's example, instructions. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Well, that's invigorating. Whew. Let's see, how do we want to do this? While I'm here, I'll check to see if there's any questions. Finding none. Going to hopefully tap the right button in the right sequence. You know, for an interesting change of pace. L on Reddit asked, how is spontaneity different from impulsiveness? L continued. She quoted me when I wrote in a previous essay, our choices, utterances, and deeds could flow from a place of centered spontaneity. And then she continued, could you clarify this? If I understand correctly, brace yourself, the middle ground leads us to no longer plan things which requires thinking. Instead, we start to spontaneously do or speak. Am I right? How is spontaneity different from impulsiveness? So I'll answer this in a few minutes, but let's go over here first. L's confusion is perfectly understandable. There are more bad teachers than good teachers. There are more pseudo-intellectuals than fully realized yogis prancing about. Middle ground is vague, and it has many, many applications. If she's quoting one of my previous essays, there is a middle ground that I refer to that is the middle ground between scattered spontaneity and absence of spontaneity, and that's centered spontaneity. So it's not that we lose the capacity to plan things. It is that instead of actively planning, we're passively planning. And instead of saying, okay, prefrontal cortex, you're my employer, I'm the boss, get to it, but you're back into it. No. Instead, when plans seem to come to us spontaneously, we might jot them down. They might be good plans, they may be horrible plans. We might follow them to the letter, we might forget about them. So it's not that we stop planning, it's just that the style of planning changes from something we choose to do to something that just comes to us spontaneously. And now my official response. Not all forms of spontaneity are created equal. Scattered spontaneity is quite often the result of our aversion, craving, and clinging run amok. Like that so-called good idea you get after doing tequila shots that could result in waking up the next morning in jail. Fortunately, not all spontaneity is scattered, some is centered. If contrivance and scatteredness were adjacent mountains, then the stream that gently meanders through the valley formed where these two mountains meet could be emblematic of the centered spontaneity that is the effortless side effect of training in inhalation's mindfulness, vulnerable, passive, visceral, and random, as well as exhalation's meditation, physically relaxing and mentally releasing. It is a hyperspace lane of spiritual training that leads one to meditate like a Jedi. So this was a response to someone's question that they wrote me specifically on Reddit, and when they received it, they were very disappointed. Now for a bit of housekeeping. Every 12 hours I broadcast a live meditation class. Let me rephrase that. And now for a bit of housekeeping before the practice session of the live stream. Haha. Every 12 hours I broadcast a live meditation class without any ads. This channel is supported by the generosity of viewers, just like you. With your help, this channel could come. And by the way, a lot of people say, well, why don't the temples help you? Well, In Tibetan Buddhism, temples or monasteries do not support monks or nuns or yogis or lamas. There are some who feel that that was due to their propensity for fiscal elitism, that they didn't want the poor folk soaking up resources, so they just allowed monastic life to be for the people whose kin were well heeled. That didn't stop everybody, though. A large number of men and women just became homeless yogis. So there. Sadly, in America, homelessness is a crime and will lead to imprisonment. So you can imagine my enthusiasm that this channel find a way to support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each with resident teachers, assistants, and apprentices. How fun would that be? If that speaks to you, and you'd like to help out even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, simply poke around the description area below the video. You'll find a link for Patreon and another for PayPal. You'll find a button for YouTube Join and another for YouTube Super Chat. Any one of those can help you advance on the path of, further on the path of generosity. If you can, if you desire to. And if you don't desire to, that's fine. You're still welcome. I'm going to check for questions. And finding none. That is weird. Okay, so finding none. I think it could be fun if together as a team we chanted 6 passages from my adaptation and amplification of the Padmakara group's translation of the 18th century Tibetan Buddhist yogi Zalpatul Rinpoche's final meditation manual, Heart Treasure of the Enlightenments. Together. Form is as non-graspable as if it was unborn, primordially non-graspable as a vast empty void like the sky. The quintessence of this awareness void is as non-graspable as Shakyamuni comprised only of light. So we're going to stop right there. Oh, yes, I see there is an editing opportunity. Copy. Okay. So, there are many names for the Buddha. In addition to the Buddha, there is Gautama, or Shakyamuni, which can translate into English as Sage of the Shakya clan. Now, it is said that the Buddha traipsed about the earth comprised of flesh, blood, and bone, just like you and I. So what do we mean by comprised only of light? In Tantric Buddhism, we are fond of the idea of working with archetypes whose iconography serves as the palette upon which we build the metaphors and the similes that we blend with our mantra recitation. So an archetype is depicted often by artists as being blissful and comprised entirely of light. We will refer to that several minutes from now. Let's continue. It is none other than like the sublime king of the sky. In the view of witness recite this 12-syllable mantra. Feeling is like a lasso that binds mind and object together. When you know feeling is like the non-do sameness of non-graspability, it is like Gautama. Now, there are many different spellings for Gautama or Shakyamuni. It's because they're being transliterated from one alphabet to another alphabet. So there's lots of wiggle room. Let's not get our knickers in a bunch over which style of transliteration is being employed. It is none other than like the sublime bountiful lasso. In the realization of the same taste of emptiness, recite this 12-syllable mantra. Appraisal, if you keep rigidly taking it as found, it is delusion. When you turn to all beings with compassion, it is like the Buddha. It is like none other than the sublime one who dredges the depths of samsara. In compassion without bias, recite this 12-syllable mantra. Impulse as samsaric actions keeps you circling in the 6 realms. If you realize hate of samsara and craving for nirvana, all the very same they all reach as non-graspable as Shakyamuni. It is none other than like the greatly compassionate transformer of beings, acting for others in one single non-graspable taste. Recite this 12-syllable mantra. Consciousness, the expression of ordinary mind, has 8 functions. If you realize ultimate mind to be like the Dharmakayas, mastery of awareness and a tinker, it is like Gautama. It is none other than like the sublime ocean of conquerors. Knowing that your own mind's empathy, take 2. Knowing that your own mind's empathy, awareness, and release, or like the Buddha's, recite this 12-syllable mantra. Believing the money to be solid is what causes servitude. If you recognize it as like the archetype sensual, yet void, your body is like the Buddha. It is none other than like the sublime stage of the Shakyas. In the recognition of the archetype's body, sensual yet void, recite this 12-syllable mantra. Quick like a bunny. Let's check for questions, and finding none. I'll tell you what, I'm going to tap a button 9 and access the Word document so I can change pages. All right. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy, may no one be separated from the happiness, may everyone have balance, may everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, freed. Now, by the way, this sadhana, our practice text, or one very much like it, is available for free download right now. This exact one probably won't be available until about 18 hours from now. I've got a strange workflow, I know. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. How could stressors give us the precious opportunity to bring dependence into compassion's path and change into the path of letting go? How could stressors give us a precious opportunity to bring dependence into compassion's path and change into the path of letting go? How could stressors give us the precious opportunity to bring dependence into compassion's path and change into the path of letting go? Through the cause and effect of my practice of love and letting go, may each sentient being of each world now practice with me in unison. With whom we invoke the example of the Muni Wise One. Like the Maha greatly wise one Muni, of the Shakas we so all wish enlightenment for all. As we chant the mantra, it could feel as if golden rays were emitting from a thumbnail-sized horizontal 12-syllable mantra rosary at our hearts. Lavishing all man's communication, bodies and circumstances, with wisdom, love, health, and good fortune centered and spontaneous. For the next 12 sets of the next 12 mantra exercises, we're going to work with intentions. We're going to blend those intentions with figures of speech, for vertebrates on this planet, like us, have evolved to think symbolically. Let us lovingly wish. And by the way, it's not our job to emote. It's not our job to visualize. Simply by playing with these words, we are guiding our intention, our will, our volition. Let us lovingly wish that all minds, master, be as wise as a Buddha's mind, real or archetypical, symbolized by a one-syllable invocation known as a seed invocation or a bija mantra. Now, so what's important is as we inhale, we silently and mentally recite the intention that we just explored. Now, as we whisper, we're going to do two things. In addition to whispering the mantra, we're going to physically relax as best we can. Doing these three things is integral to really benefiting from these spiritual technologies. Let us lovingly wish that all communication and its interpersonal consequences be as loving as an archetypical Buddha, whose communication is symbolized, whose enlightened communication is symbolized by a polysyllabic invocation or a Maha Mantra. Let us lovingly wish that all bodies of all beings now enjoy the health that is depicted artistically in paintings of enlightened archetypes known in Tibet as a yidam. Let us lovingly wish that all circumstances were as fortunate as an archetypical paradise, or pure land, or Vati, if you prefer Sanskrit. We're now going to shift gears and bring mantra contemplation into the path of the wisdom of Latina. May I let go of all circumstances. So what we're going to do now is, there's a word called emptiness. In Sanskrit, it is shunyata. It's sometimes translated as voidness. And there's been much confusion over the centuries. And so I'd like to dispel that. When we look at emptiness literally, it makes no sense. It only makes sense when we look at it figuratively. Hopefully these next two pages will shed some light upon that. May I let go of all circumstances, bodies, communication, and minds, as if they were as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be non-graspable to the hand. During these next 4 mantra exercises, we're going to work not with intention, but with rhetorical questions. How is it that as we inhale, we are able to observe the visual aspects of our circumstances, and yet, when we physically relax into our exhalation, these exact same circumstances, whether they are perilous or fortuitous, could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined paradise comprised only of light. Remember, no, our job is not to answer these questions, for they are rhetorical. Our job is to silently and mentally recite these questions in harmony with our inhalation, and physically relax in harmony with our whispered recitation of this 12-syllable mantra. Why is it that as we inhale, we're able to observe the sensations of our bodies, and yet, as we physically relax into our exhalation, these exact same bodies, be they healthy or sick, could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a real or imagined archetype of enlightenment comprised only of light? Why is it that as we inhale, we could observe our communication and its interpersonal consequences in a manner quite resounding, and yet, as we physically relax into our exhalation, this exact same communication and its interpersonal consequences, be it kind or cruel, could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a mantra, a maha mantra, comprised only of light. How is it that when we inhale, we are able to, clearly observe mind's functions of perception, emotion, intention, reason, recall, and imagination? And yet, as we physically relax into our exhalation, our exact same minds could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a one-syllable seed mantra, comprised only of light. Our four final contemplations of the evening will occur without mantra, but they will be figurative. Let's play with melting as a metaphor of impermanence to help us better leapfrog over the tyranny of our clinging tendencies. Let us play with absorption as a metaphor of interdependence to help us to leapfrog over the tyranny of our competitive tendencies. It has been said that the two pillars of confusion are clinging and competition. How could all places whisper and melt into a rainbow light that absorbs into this body? How could all bodies whisper and melt into a rainbow light that absorbs into this speech? How could all speech whisper and melt into a rainbow light that absorbs into this mind? How could all minds whisper and melt into a rainbow light that absorbs into infinite emptiness? Let us demystify meditation. Well, let us demystify mindfulness. As we inhale, we could silently and mentally recite feeling this. And meditation is just as easy. As we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite relaxing. Now, why would we do that? Every time we inhale, we are wired to our sympathetic nervous system is wired to support the sensory acuity that allows us to perceive the external or the internal, the physical or the mental, the pleasurable or the painful, the interesting or the boring, the glorious or the grotesque. And when we do so, when we perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly, then the only label we need ever use is simply the pronoun, this. But what will we do with all this stuff that we notice? Every exhalation is wired to access the parasympathetic nervous system that supports both our physical relaxation as well as our mental release. Now, what are some of the things that we could find ourselves releasing? This evening, we could find ourselves releasing our habitual resistance to the presence of what we hate. We could find ourselves releasing our habitual resistance to the absence of things we crave. And we could find ourselves releasing our habitual resistance to the loss of that to which we cling. It's approximately 42 minutes after the hour. Let's meditate. Out live send me this all like mine shoot up this central channel out this fountain and into infinite openness. P. Out live send me this all like mine shoot up this central channel out this fountain and into the and into infinite openness. P. At lives and may this all like mine shoot up the central channel out this fountain and into infinite openness. P. May all mind, speech, forms, and lots have the wisdom, love, health, and boon of Buddha's mythical Bijam Mantra Yidam and Vati. Having sat for the better part of an hour, you might find it refreshing to knock out 2 or 3 repetitions of geriatric step-back squat thrusts. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May all beings like the Buddha, master being, flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness, flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May all beings like the Buddha master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate all others. May each being take auspicious rebirth, may master the Buddha's path and then help all others do likewise. At this very moment, all the peoples and the nations of the earth, may not even the names disease, famine, war, or suffering be heard. Rather may their conduct merit wealth and prosperity increase. And may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise for them. Beginning with Kuntu Zangpo and Great Doje Chang down to my own kindest Lama. Whatever aspirations they have made to benefit beings, may I accomplish them all. In approximately 10.5 hours, we could return to explore embracing the path of yin, as well as chant and meditate some more. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.